Have you ever wondered what people regret most once they reach the very end? The truth is, no matter how full a life someone has lived, there are certain regrets that catch up to nearly everyone after 80. They're not always about what you did wrong, but more often about what you didn't do enough of, missed the chances, words left unsaid, moments you thought you'd have time for later, but didn't. These regrets may stay quiet for decades, but in those still, reflective moments late in life, they speak the loudest. This video isn't here to make you feel bad. It's here to give you a rare opportunity to learn from the wisdom of those who've already walked this road. Because by knowing what so many people wish they could go back and change, you can make different choices now, while time is still on your side. Today, we're going to look at 6 of the most common regrets people carry after 80. These aren't random. They come up again and again in conversations with elders, in quiet nursing home rooms, and in honest reflections that only come with age. They reveal what really matters when all the noise fades away. If you're between 55 and 80, or even just thinking about how to make the most of your years ahead, this video is for you, because there's still time. Time to heal, time to change, time to live without regret. And stay with me until the end, because the final one may be the most surprising and the most important. Let's begin. Regret 1. Not prioritizing health sooner. One of the most common and painful regrets people express after 80 is this: I wish I had taken better care of my health when I still had the chance. It's not just about illness or injury. It's about the slow, creeping loss of independence that catches so many off guard. The ability to walk without pain, to climb a few stairs, to cook your own meal, to drive yourself to the store. These are the things people miss most when they're gone, and they don't disappear all at once. They fade gradually, often because health was treated as something to think about later. Doctors have long said that the best medicine is prevention, and yet many folks put it off. Exercise felt optional, regular checkups were skipped, diet was based on convenience rather than nourishment. When you're in your 50s or 60s, you can get away with it, but by the time you reach your 80s, the choices you made decades earlier catch up with you. Bones get brittle, muscles shrink, balance becomes shaky, and energy seems to vanish. I once spoke with a woman named Evelyn, 84, who had lived an active life until her early 70s. After retiring, she stopped walking daily, ate mostly frozen meals, and brushed off her rising blood pressure. At the time, she didn't think it was a big deal, but now she needs a walker just to get from the bedroom to the kitchen. It's not the pain I regret, she said, it's the loss of freedom. I gave it away slowly, without realizing it. And that's what makes this regret so powerful. It's not about fear of death. It's about the frustration of being alive, but unable to do the things you once took for granted. When the body weakens, so does confidence. Even small tasks become exhausting. And worst of all, many people feel they could have done something to prevent it, but didn't. What hurts most isn't just the physical decline. It's the knowledge that they had a window, a period of time when their health was still strong enough to build on. That window was wide open in their 50s and 60s. A little movement, a few better meals, a few routine exams could have made all the difference. But when you believe you have time, it's easy to put things off until suddenly you don't. What doctors and caregivers hear again and again from older adults is this: I thought I had more time to lose the weight, more time to fix the blood pressure, more time to stretch, walk, breathe better. But time, as it turns out, is not always generous. And health once lost isn't always easy to rebuild. So if you're watching this and you can still walk without assistance, lift your own groceries, or stand for 10 minutes without discomfort, count that as a blessing, but also count it as a warning. Because every day you choose to move, eat better, rest well, and check in on your health is a day you protect your future freedom. The body may age no matter what, but how well it ages, that part is still in your hands. Regret 2. Letting relationships fade away. As people reach their 80s, they often find themselves looking back, not just on what they accomplished, but on who they once shared their life with. And one of the heaviest regrets that rises to the surface is this: I let too many good people slip away. It's a quiet ache, not loud or dramatic, but it lingers, the realization that friendships, once strong and rich with laughter and shared memories, faded not because of arguments or betrayal, but because no one made the call. As we age, life naturally changes. People move, families grow in different directions, work and responsibilities pile up, and before you know it, the friend you used to talk to every week is now someone you think about only when an old photo falls out of a drawer. The cousin you used to visit every summer becomes just a name you see once a year in a Christmas card. And slowly, without meaning to, we let connections dissolve like mist in the morning. But what hits hard at 80 is not just the absence of people, it's the memories you didn't get to make, the holidays you could have spent together, the stories you'll never get to share, and worst of all, the chance to say things that matter, while the person was still around to hear them. Frank, 83, told me once about his best friend from the Navy. They'd been inseparable for years, but after starting families and moving to different states, the calls became less frequent. I always figured I'd call next week, he said. Then one day, I found out he passed. I never got to say goodbye. I never even got to thank him for being like a brother to me. Frank still keeps his friends' old letters in a drawer by the window. I read them sometimes, he said, just to remember what I forgot to hold on to. The truth is, relationships don't vanish overnight. They fade little by little when we stop showing up, and at the time it feels harmless. You tell yourself you're just busy, or that you'll send a message tomorrow, but days turn into months, months into years, and suddenly someone who once knew your soul inside and out becomes a stranger. Doctors, nurses, and caregivers hear this sorrow often. It's not always spoken outright, but it shows up in stories, in long pauses, and in eyes that drift toward the window when you mention a familiar name. There's a deep hunger for connection in later life, especially when you realize that the people who mattered most to you are no longer just a phone call away. But this regret isn't just about others. It's about the version of yourself that existed within those relationships, the you who laughed until you cried, the you who felt seen, understood, and unconditionally accepted. When we lose relationships, we lose pieces of that version of ourselves too. If there's someone you've been thinking about, an old friend, a sibling, a neighbor from long ago, don't wait. Reach out. Even a simple message, a short phone call, or a handwritten note can reopen a door you didn't know was still there. And if the relationship is beyond repair, or the person has passed, honor them by reaching out to someone else, by choosing connection again. Because at 80, it's not the arguments you regret, it's the silence. It's the space where love and laughter could have lived, if only you had spoken first. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Regret 3. Working too much, living too little. Among the many truths that surface after 80, one of the most quietly painful is this: I spent too much of my life working and not enough living. It doesn't always come from people who hated their jobs. In fact, many enjoyed their work. They felt proud to provide for their families, to build something of value, to be needed. But when all is said and done, what remains isn't the promotions or the paychecks, it's the time that slipped through their fingers. People often look back and realize how many birthdays they missed, how many Sunday afternoons blurred into Monday mornings, how many dinners were eaten quickly, or not at all, so they could answer one more call or finish one more task. And the cost of that trade doesn't fully show up until much later, when you're sitting in a quiet house wondering where the years went. James, 85, once ran a successful plumbing business. He started it from scratch, worked 12-hour days for decades, and put 3 kids through college. He never took vacations, rarely went to their school plays, and always said he'd do more with them next year. When I asked him what he'd change if he could, he paused for a long time. Then he said, "I built a business I was proud of, but I missed seeing my kids grow up. I gave my time to the world, but I didn't save enough of it for the people who mattered." That's the heart of this regret. It's not about blaming yourself for working hard. It's about realizing too late that life doesn't wait. While you were answering every demand, the moments that truly give life meaning were passing you by. The fishing trips you never took, the slow mornings with your spouse, the vacations you postponed, the hobbies you planned to return to, but never did. And for many, the biggest surprise is how quickly time moves. One day you're 50, grinding through deadlines and responsibilities. Then you blink, and you're 80, wondering why you didn't stop to enjoy more along the way. By then the calendar has flipped too many times to go back. Doctors and counselors often hear this regret wrapped in phrases like, "I thought I had more time," or "I didn't know how fast it would all go." The truth is, it's easy to think that success and security will bring fulfillment, but without presence, real, uninterrupted time spent living, success can feel hollow in the end. This regret isn't just about lost time, it's about lost memories, the ones you could have made but didn't. And the saddest part, most people don't realize it's happening until they retire and find they no longer know what brings them joy outside of work. If you're watching this and still caught in the daily grind, ask yourself this: are you building a life you'll be proud to remember, or one you'll regret rushing through? Because one day, the emails will stop, the deadlines will disappear, and all that will remain is what you chose to do with the hours that were yours. Regret 4. Not expressing feelings when it mattered. If there's one regret that cuts deep in the later years, it's the memory of the words never spoken. After 80, many people look back not with remorse over what they said, but with quiet sorrow over what they didn't. The "I love you" they held back, the apology they never gave, the gratitude they meant to express, but never quite found the time or courage to say. These aren't dramatic regrets. They're soft, lingering wounds that resurface when the chance to speak is gone. Emotions, especially in past generations, were often treated as something to keep under wraps. Many were raised to believe that strength meant silence, that showing too much feeling made you weak or too vulnerable. But the truth is, the things we leave unsaid can leave the heaviest burden of all, not because they were big speeches, but because they held meaning. And after 80, when time feels shorter and people you once loved have passed on, the weight of unspoken words becomes much harder to carry. Let me tell you about a man named George. He was 82, widowed, and lived alone. His wife Margaret had passed just 2 years earlier, after nearly 60 years of marriage. George loved her deeply, but like many men of his generation, he wasn't one to say much. "She knew how I felt," he told me, "but I never really said it. Not like I should have, I just assumed she knew." After she passed, he would sit in his chair every evening, quietly talking to her photo. He told me once, "I'm saying it all now, but I just wish I had said it when she was here to hear it." That's the kind of regret that doesn't shout, it whispers in the quiet moments. It's the letter you meant to write, the call you meant to make, the hug you could have held just a little longer. These missed expressions live in the heart, and over time they collect like dust on the shelf, always there, just out of reach. Doctors, nurses, and therapists often say that toward the end of life, patients don't ask for their resumes or their bank statements. They ask for their children, their spouses, their old friends, and they talk about moments they wish they had shared, truths they carried too long, affection they rationed out too carefully, forgiveness they were too stubborn to give. This regret isn't about failure, it's about being human. We assume we'll get another chance, another visit, another tomorrow, and then suddenly, we don't. The opportunity passes, and with it the chance to bring healing, not just to others but to ourselves. The good news is, it's not too late. If you're holding on to something, a compliment, an apology, a confession, a thank you, say it. Even if the moment feels awkward, even if it's been years, the truth is, people rarely regret speaking from the heart, but they often regret staying silent. Because when you're 80 and reflecting on a lifetime of moments, it's not the perfect words you'll remember, it's the moments when you dared to speak honestly, and the ones when you didn't. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Regret 5. Being too hard on themselves. By the time someone reaches 80, they've usually lived through a lot, raising families, building careers, making sacrifices, and enduring both triumphs and losses. But surprisingly, one of the deepest regrets that lingers into old age isn't about what the world did to them, it's about what they did to themselves. It's the realization that for far too long, they were their own harshest critic. Many older adults reflect on how much of their life was spent judging themselves, how they looked, how much they achieved, how well they measured up to others. And now, looking back, they wish they had shown themselves more compassion. Because what once felt like holding high standards now feels like carrying unnecessary weight. This regret often takes the form of quiet thoughts like, I never gave myself credit, or I was always chasing perfection and never felt like I was enough. It's the kind of self-talk that wears a person down over the years, even when others around them thought they were doing just fine. It's about missed joy, missed peace, and a kind of inner kindness they didn't realize they deserved. Margaret, who turned 86 last spring, spoke with tears in her eyes when she shared this with her granddaughter. I spent decades thinking I wasn't a good enough mother, that my house wasn't clean enough, that I should have done more. But now I realize I did what I could. I did my best, and I should have given myself more grace for that. It's easy to understand why this happens. We grow up in a world that measures success by output, by comparison, by constant striving. So we internalize the idea that rest is lazy, that flaws make us weak, that mistakes define us. We beat ourselves up over words we said, choices we made, paths we didn't take, and we rarely stop to notice just how hard we've been trying or how far we've come. But here's the thing, once people reach their 80s, they begin to see things differently. The imperfections that once caused shame now seem human. The goals they missed don't matter as much as the people they loved, the kindness they showed in the moments they were truly present. They don't regret falling short, they regret not seeing their own worth sooner. This kind of regret can be sneaky. It hides behind decades of high expectations. It looks like success on the outside, but feels like unrest on the inside. And by the time a person is finally ready to forgive themselves, they've already spent half their life believing they weren't good enough. That's why this realization, though painful, can also be liberating, because if you're hearing this now, no matter your age, you still have the chance to treat yourself more gently, to say, I did my best, and mean it. To recognize that perfection was never the point, that your mistakes don't cancel out your goodness, and that giving yourself compassion isn't selfish, it's healing. So if your inner voice tends to be harsh, pause and ask yourself, would I speak to a loved one this way? Would I deny someone else grace for the very things I carry guilt for? If not, it's time to show yourself the same kindness you've shown others. Because when you look back at 80, what you'll want most is peace with yourself, and that peace begins with how you choose to see yourself today. Regret 6. Putting off dreams until it was too late. There's a particular kind of sadness that surfaces after 80, not about the things that were done, but about the things that never got a chance to be. For many older adults, the most persistent regret is this: I waited too long to follow my dreams, and the deeper truth beneath that. They kept telling themselves there would be time to travel, to write, to paint, to sing, to start that project, or learn that skill. But eventually, time had other plans. What's most painful isn't the size of the dream, it's how long it was postponed. Often the dreams were modest: learning to play the piano, taking a road trip across the country, opening a small cafe, or simply spending more time in nature. But life got busy, bills had to be paid, children needed raising, work was never done, and somewhere along the way, dreams were placed on a shelf labeled someday. But here's what hits hard at 80, someday never came. Walter, age 84, had always dreamed of learning to paint. He'd sketch little scenes on napkins and in the margins of notebooks, always saying he'd take a class once he retired. But retirement came with health issues, caregiving responsibilities, and eventually declining eyesight. I kept waiting for the right time, he said, but I never made time mine. I thought dreams were luxuries. Now I see they were necessities. That's the regret, not that people didn't dream, but that they didn't prioritize them, that they kept them locked away, waiting for permission or perfect conditions, and by the time they were ready, their bodies weren't, or the people they wanted to share it with were gone, or the spark had dimmed. This regret often hides behind phrases like, "I always wanted to," or "I should have." It's not filled with bitterness, but with quiet longing for a life that could have been fuller, richer, more joyful. And it's not just about hobbies or travel. Sometimes it's about love that was never pursued, a career path never taken, a move to a different city that was forever delayed, the life that was dreamed about but never lived. Caregivers and family members hear these words, often in hospice rooms and quiet conversations. I wish I hadn't waited. Not because the dream was grand, but because it was personal, it mattered to them, and in the end, they realize that honoring what lights you up isn't selfish, it's sacred. But here's the part you need to hear: if you're alive, it's not too late. Your dream doesn't have to be big, it just has to be yours. You don't have to move mountains. Maybe just pick up a paintbrush, write a single page, plant a garden, or take that trip you've always talked about. Start small, but start. Because the biggest tragedy isn't failing at a dream, it's never trying. It's believing the myth that you have to earn your joy, or that other things must come first. Always. You've given so much to others. Maybe now is the time to give a little something back to yourself. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Final thoughts. Now that we've walked through these 6 powerful regrets, take a quiet moment to ask yourself what stood out to you the most. Which of these touched a nerve, brought someone to mind, or made you think of a choice still waiting to be made? Because the most heartbreaking regrets after 80 aren't about failure, they're about waiting too long to do what mattered most. And if you're here still watching, then the beautiful truth is this: it's not too late for you. One of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is the willingness to listen to the wisdom of those who've gone before us, not just with sympathy, but with action. You don't have to reach 80 with a heart full of what-ifs. You can start today by choosing differently. Call someone you've lost touch with. Say the thing you've been holding back. Take a walk for your future health. Forgive yourself for being human. Or finally, take one small step toward that long-postponed dream. No one escapes life without some regret. That's just part of being alive. But what makes the difference is what we do before the moment is gone. That's where peace lives, not in perfection, but in the courage to live with intention. The people who shared these regrets didn't do so out of bitterness. They shared them as a gift, a gentle warning, a whispered invitation to live deeper, love louder, and stop waiting for someday, because the clock is always ticking, but your story is still being written. So ask yourself, if I were 80 today, what would I wish I had done differently? Then go do that thing while you still can. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.